Darren Mogstad, and this is Shipwatch on Fresnel Lens News. And did you know that some people think that elves were thought to be the mother nature of pagan religions? That is just the first of facts about Christmas that we're going to be sharing with you today. In the years 1647 to 1660, Christmas was actually illegal. The current leader of England at that point in time was Oliver Cromwell, and he believed that celebrations were immoral. Any man or woman found celebrating Christmas during that time of the season would actually be arrested. It's estimated that 56% of Americans sing their Christmas carols to their pets. It's probably more fulfilling than singing to other people because at least pets won't run away. Someone is actually named Kris Kringle. He lives in the North Pole, but instead of riding a sleigh pulled by reindeer, he actually just drives a Ford car. But, bonus is, he does work at a pizza shop. Don't throw out your Christmas tree this year. Instead, turn it into dinner. Evergreen is actually edible. I mean, of course, you will be eating a tree, but isn't that pretty much what broccoli is? There's an old wives' tale that if you bake your bread on Christmas Eve, it'll stay fresh forever. This is actually believed for some time, but most believers would probably end up getting a little skeptical when, after about 5 days, mold started to appear on their bread. Norwegian scientists have hypothesized that Rudolph's red nose was actually a result of a parasitic growth in his respiratory system. Why Norwegian scientists would actually decide to research that, I have no idea. On the first day of Christmas, my true love gave to me, and blah, and blah, and blah. The song about birds, servants, and other material wealth will forever be sung in elementary school concerts. But it's actually just one big metaphor. The partridge in a pear tree happens to represent a very prominent thing in the whole Christmas story. You guessed, baby Jesus. And what do you think the true turtle doves represent? The Old and New Testament of the Christian Bible. On the 12 days of Christmas note, if you added up all the gifts that the true love gave to me, you'd find out that there are actually 364 gifts total, which means that those gifts would last you all the way till next Christmas, where you get another year's worth of presents. According to the Guinness Book of World Records, the tallest ever Christmas tree cut down was a 221-foot Douglas fir in Washington, Seattle in 1950. Santa Claus was actually based off a real person, which you've probably heard of, St. Nicholas of Myra, who lived during the 4th century. He is actually the patron saint of banking, pawnbroking, pirating, butchery, sailing, thievery, orphans, royalty, and, of course, New York. Santa Claus has actually changed drastically throughout the years. In the olden days, all the way back then, he was actually portrayed as a tall, thin, strict man that carried a birch rod. That's pretty much nothing like the fat, old, jolly, not a figure of discipline that we know of today. According to some accounts, St. Nicholas of New York saved a bunch of sailors in a big storm. It was a giant sea storm off the coast of Turkey, and a ship full of sailors was caught in it. Apparently they prayed to St. Nicholas, and he told the storm to be calm. Guess what? It was calmed down. The sailors then reported safely home back at the harbor. St. Nicholas's bones were stolen by Italian merchants. They now supposedly lay in a church named after him. Wow. Who would think that the saint of thievery himself would actually be stolen? Christmas stockings have been a part of this holiday for a long time. But how did this strange tradition come to be about? Well, there's a story going around for centuries and centuries and centuries that this actually has to do with our dear friend, St. Nicholas. There was a kind nobleman who was very depressed that his wife had just died. And because his wife had just died, his whole fortune ended up leaving him. This meant that his daughters were left with no dowries, which meant that no man would want to marry them. St. Nicholas heard about these 3 girls and decided to help them. These three girls were hanging their stockings by the fire to dry, and St. Nicholas wanted to help them but wanted to remain anonymous. So he got on his white horse and rode in front of their house, but since he wanted to be anonymous, he snuck up on their roof and dropped in 3 bags of gold through the chimney, which apparently got caught in the Christmas stockings. Now, what's the likelihood that that would actually happen? Another little fun fact about Christmas, do you know that Jingle Bells was actually the first song sung in space? On December 16th, 1965, 2 astronauts aboard the Gemini 6 sang the song Jingle Bells with, of course, an accompanying set of bells and a harmonica, which they had smuggled aboard the ship. In Iceland, they were originally depicted to be 13 Santas who were the children of 2 child-eating trolls. They were just like their parents, and they ate naughty children on Christmas. But for obvious reasons, these 13 criminals, shall we say, were toned down just a little bit to instead just wreck everyone's Christmas by killing cows, stealing food, ruining people's presents, and soiling people's clothing. The story of these 2 parent trolls was still a better love story than Twilight. It is often said that the leaves of mistletoe are poisonous, but that may not be the case. Around 1919 was when this myth was originally started, when the child of an army officer ate one of these leaves and died. But that might not have actually been why the child died. There was no evidence pointing to that being the cause of death, and according to the Madison Poison Center Control, a 50-pound child would have to eat 500 to 600 mistletoe leaves to feel any effects. Even then, it would probably just lead to stomach cramps, not actually dying. It was the night before Christmas, you know, that poem that you read a lot in your childhood and probably still read to this day every Christmas, was originally published anonymously on December 23rd, 1823. This poem was delivered to the New York Centennial by Mr. Clement Clark Moore, who was a history book writer. But several years later, he hesitantly admitted that he did write this book. He originally denied it because he was a history book writer and he didn't want to be connected to a fantasy poem. But children eventually convinced him to put it in his book of his works. Woo! Score for us! The guy who originally voiced your mean one, Mr. Grinch, was actually the voice actor for Tony the Tiger. Thank you for watching Shipwatch on FinellanceNews.weebly.com. I'd like to send a special shout out to Riley Coons for writing our script and to Lily Mogstad for videotaping this whole thing. If you want to see our bibliography, it will be posted underneath this video, and as we say at Lighthouse, normal is a swear word.